Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and that means limited time savings on the paint pros need. Right now, save $15 on 5-gallon pails of HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams All-Purpose Power Primer. Plus, get it delivered to your job site with free same-day delivery when you order by 2 p.m. Visit us in-store or online today, because Lowe's knows paint. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 12/20. Delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowes.com/same-day delivery for details.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast, too. Check it out. Go to HarmonSolar.com. That's HarmonSolar.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And welcome back to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic. This is Monday, and you know what that means. We've got Monday Night Football tonight, though I should point out that the Monday Night Football game, we got two of them tonight, so that's one. The one that we are broadcasting here on the big station is, as soon as my computer decides to tell me what's going on here, is the Vikings and the Bears. Which,
good. We got the good one.
Yeah. Which, because you had the Falcons and the Raiders, that's that was your other option tonight. And obviously we decided to go with the game that doesn't suck. You're welcome. That game's going to be on Money Radio, though, because we do have GCU basketball tonight. That's going to be here right after the Blender, right after this show. So just keep your ears out for that. We've got a lot of sports going on right here on 1580 The Fanatic. This is the Harmon Solar Studios of 1580 The Fanatic from sunny uptown Scottsdale. I'm Keon Rose. Our betting expert is Dylan Cohen. Today on the show, we are all loaded up with football talk. We've got a lot of football to get to. A lot of stuff happened this weekend. The Cardinals win probability winner. We will get to that as well. If we have a little bit of time, we'll talk about the Suns and what they were able to do this weekend and the return of Kevin Durant. Much needed return of Kevin Durant, and the Suns look like they're starting to get back on track. We may be able to get to that as well. And then, of course, as always, we wrap up the show with all of the picks that Dylan's got for you today. You're on the text line at 888-368-1580, which we appreciate you joining the show. And your bets, we want to know about that stuff. How did your bets go? What was your weekend like betting or just rooting for your teams? We always like to get that from you. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Sport Trade, and make sure you search Sport Trade on your smartphone, get that app downloaded, and use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on all of your bets placed in the first week on the app. And of course, we do that little Sport Trade implied probability contest, as Keon mentioned. So we do have a winner for that, which we're going to get into very shortly here. But to point out, one of the bright spots over the weekend, that was our Arizona Cardinals. They did take care of business at home yesterday at State Farm Stadium. They were able to defeat the New England Patriots. Final score 30-17. And if you happen to follow those Beat the Book picks that we put out each day, we went 4-6 over the weekend. So wasn't our best weekend there, but I did recommend taking the Arizona Cardinals for Kyler Murray to take the over on his passing yards, which he did barely just get there. So that was good to see. There are another 10 picks that were posted for today. Make sure you check out that Beat the Book site. You can get there by following me on Instagram. The tag is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. You just hit the link in the bio. That'll take you right to the Beat the Book page so you can see what the bets are that we are recommending for tonight. And then you can also visit 1580thefanatic.com. You click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the same place so you can see what the bets that we are recommending for today. But getting back to the Cardinals, That was a great game where, the Cardinals just took control early. Wasn't really something where we had to stress a whole lot. There was a little bit of an injury scare in the second half with Kyler Murray. He did go out momentarily after taking a hard hit to the head, but he was able to get back in the game. We were able to take care of business there. Trey McBride goes for 87 receiving yards, still looking to get that first touchdown of the season. They were talking a bit about that on the broadcast yesterday, and we didn't actually talk about this, but did you see the play in the Cardinals game yesterday where they tried to run like the handoff from it was like the 1 or the 2 yard line to get it to McBride, and he still got held. He wasn't able to push it in.
I didn't see that actually.
Oh man, it was like, oh, he's gonna get it. Nope. So Trey McBride still looking to get that touchdown, but James Conner, 110 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, monster day for James Conner, and I think that the Cardinals needed that. They're always better on the ground, and as a team, when they're good on the ground, and when James Conner is good, like that's just the best version of this team. Then it kind of unlocks everything else, which is why so many teams take him out of the ball game, try to game plan to get James Conner limited as much as you can. The Patriots just weren't able to do that. The Cardinals take advantage, and it was eating good in the ground game for the Cardinals.
So, with that being said, at halftime of this game, the Cardinals were up by 10 points. The score was 13-3. And if you happen to text in what you believed the win probability was going to be for the Cardinals at halftime, if you participated, we certainly appreciate you participating. We're going to go ahead and reveal the winner here. Keon, how did this all shake out? How did it break down?
Okay, well, we've got some text coming in. First of all, Baker's Cocky Hens, the winner of last week's contest, said the sport trade money came in, guys, and we're glad to hear that. He also said, thankfully, after the weekend, because my bets suck this weekend, let's go Kirk Cousins yards tonight. Last chance before they bench him. Luckily, he performs well under pressure. Sometimes he even lines up under the guard to speed things up. It's been known to happen once or twice, but thanks for texting Baker's Cocky Hen. So here's how the contest shook out. We had a lot of believers this week, a lot of high guesses for the Cardinals. Most people above 50% in their guesses. We only had maybe a handful of people who were below 50. Nobody below 40 from what I'm seeing here. So that's already the first thing. The second thing was, this is another one of those weeks where the guy who guessed the highest, or gal, because I believe Ghetto Girl actually jumped in this week as well. The person who guessed the highest had they were the closest, but they didn't get it because it's Price is Right rules. They went over. That would be Pickle D. Pickle D at 96.7% was over the 95% that the Cardinals actually wound up hitting at halftime, which means that the next closest that we have is a tie. Sir Drives a Lot and Swazman tied at 71%.
Wow.
This is the second time winning in this season for both of them, but it's a tie this time, even though Sir Drives a Lot involved in a tie earlier in the season with NFL Blitzer. So that is how things shook out. Swazman, Sir Drives a Lot, you are the winners of this week's Cardinals win probability contest.
Well, congratulations to the two of you. Again, the implied probability percentage for the Cardinals at halftime of that game yesterday was 95%. They were up by 10. So we did have one submission at a little over 96%, but because of those Price is Right rules, if you go over, you do not win. We then go with the next closest guess, which was a tie at 71% for Sir Drives a Lot and Swazman. So good news here, guys. You are both previous winners. We already have your info. So you guys do not need to do anything. We're going to take care of you here. We will get all that information over to Sport Trade. Congratulations to the two of you. And Keon, I think we should kind of move over now because there was a really, really crazy game that got played in the NFL yesterday. And this game was so impactful that as of today, and granted, there's some other factors feeding into this, but like this one game, the outcome of it has changed multiple futures betting markets.
Before you get going, the text line is blowing up here over the winner of the contest. So we got Sir Drives a Lot, simple, straight to the point. Woo! So we got Sir Drives a Lot's happy. Swazman was like, wow, I did it again. 73% is not so close to 95, but I guess I won fair and square. Thank you so much. Lost Toby says being up 10 is 90% plus. Lost Toby, it's not just the score that is factored into the win probability. It's also what is the other team doing? At no point did the Patriots look like they were going to do anything in that football game. And so a lot of the calculations reflect that. Like, that's the reason why when we tell you
it was a home game for the Cardinals too. Like there's just everything gets taken
there's
into account.
a lot of factors, like the trends leading into the game. You know, when the Cardinals are up by this much and they have this many yards, this is what tends to happen. This is how often they tend to win. It's not just you're up 10, so it has to be 50% or 52%. Like, that's not how it works. Lost Toby also says fake news. Guess what? I don't, it's not my computer. I'm not running the calculations, man. You can fake news it all you want to. You didn't win. So you were at 54%. You weren't even close.
Oh,
I want to hear
high for Lost Toby.
High for Lost Toby because
Yeah.
it was the Patriots. I do think that everybody was kind of factoring that in as well. Sir Drives a Lot says, oh, and who has the ball in the second half first probably also factors into that. Yeah, like a lot. There are a
Absolutely.
lot of things that if you're already up 2 scores and you get the chance to go up 3, yeah, that's going to probably put your win probability in a different place. Pickle D, little frustrated on the text line, says, oh, man, you got to give me that. And I can't give you that because if we did give you that, we'd owe Baker's cocky hens like 4 times over. He's done this like 5 times. It's insane how close he gets and he's on the wrong side, which is why we're glad that he finally won a week ago. Because, man, that was getting brutal. And then Elzar of the Mountain says, are you guys going to carry Jim Rome with him changing show hours? And that is a programming question, and I am not a program director. Gonna probably have to ask Jeffrey.
Conversations are ongoing. So there's been no official decision made on that. But
well, there you go.
We're figuring it out.
I have no input there. Nobody tells me anything in this building. All right, Dylan, now you may go. The text line is cleared up and we are free to roam about the country.
So let's talk real quick about what honestly should have been the night game yesterday. And we've talked about the nuances of like how flexing games works, and I can understand why CBS was probably clutching onto that Bills and Lions game pretty tightly because that was just a box office game. Final score 48-42. Bills were able to get the win. Josh Allen just has another magical performance.
It's a video game performance at this point. Like, that's all he does is like, if you did that in Madden, you'd feel pretty good about yourself.
And what's crazy too is, like, before I get into what Josh Allen did, he had to overcome the opposing quarterback getting 494 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns with a 118 quarterback rating. Like, those numbers in itself, that is video game like. That is, unreal. And those were Jared Goff's stats yesterday. Josh Allen countered that with 362 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns with 68 rushing yards as well. So, the one thing that stands out to me with this game is, oh my God, the potential for player props, overs, obviously a lot of touchdowns scored. So there's a lot of anytime touchdown bets that win. If you just had the foresight to take the over, the line on this game closed at 55.5, and we end up with a final score that totals 90. I mean, there's maybe a handful of these kinds of games every single year. If you can sense one of these coming,
and maybe we should have, because the Bills, of course, were in one of these a week ago against the Rams, and it wasn't quite as high scoring, but the Lions and the Packers as well got into the mid 30s in that game. The Packers scored 31-35 for the Lions. So both of these teams were coming off of games where like they were just ripping it offensively. You put the two of them together. Maybe we should have seen this one coming.
And I don't know why this isn't being talked about more, because I just remember like watching this yesterday and I thought it was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. But I also think it speaks to how good Josh Allen is. Why in the world would the Lions down 10 with like 10 or 12 minutes left in the fourth? I don't remember the exact amount of time. They took an onside kick.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way that I can like logically think about that is Dan Campbell thinks so highly of the way that Josh Allen is playing right now that he wants to try and do something to prevent Josh Allen from even getting the ball back on offense. as opposed to, let's just, try and get them the worst possible field position and like trust our defense. That mentality seemed like it went out the window when they decided to do that onside
Well,
kick.
because it wasn't working. Like, to be fair to Dan Campbell, it wasn't working. They were not stopping Josh Allen. It didn't matter where they started. Buffalo was threatening every possession that they had. And so sometimes a good offense is the best defense. If we have the ball, it means you don't have it. And that's basically kind of where he was at. And also, like, clearly the way that they ran that onside kick, this is something they practice all the time. They felt very confident that they were doing it. I would not have done that. To be clear, I think that that's not a great decision. But Dan Campbell, if you believe highly in the opposing quarterback, who is Josh Allen, who will probably be your NFL MVP this season, if you believe that highly in Josh Allen, and you're aggressive, and you think your special teams can recover the football, it's not crazy that you would do that, even though like it didn't work, and obviously it ended up backfiring in an aggressive way. So now instead of being down 2 scores, you're down 3, and that kind of puts it right out of reach for you.
Well, and now today the Lions find themselves in, not the best territory, because on top of taking that loss last night, there were some impactful injuries that occurred for them during that game. First and foremost, David Montgomery, one half of the Sonic and Knuckles, combo on that team with the 2 running backs they have.
Jahmyr Gibbs being the other guy. Yeah.
So, and granted, that is a position where they have some depth. They still have Jahmyr Gibbs, but part of what made Gibbs and Montgomery so effective was in that neither one of them had to really shoulder the load of like being, the main running back for a full game. They could, split carries, and then, just having that 2-pronged attack with 2 starting caliber running backs
who play the game differently. Like Montgomery's more of your bruiser. You get the short yardage situations, and David Montgomery rolls right on through. Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, can also run between the tackles, but he's got that ability to kill people in space. You throw him a screen pass, it's basically over. You line him up as a receiver if you really want to. He's got the hands for it. Like, I just think that that their offense is going to be more limited without Montgomery, even though you still have Gibbs. Montgomery was offering something that Gibbs doesn't necessarily have, and they were kind of covering each other's weaknesses with their strengths. So I do think that that's a big loss for the Lions.
But then even on the defense, they've lost starting defensive tackle Ali McNeil.
Which this defensive line didn't need any more injuries. It's already beaten to hell. I don't know what else you could take from the Lions at this point. It just seems unfair.
Well, and then they lost 2 cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and Khalil Dorsey.
It just seems like, and those are this week's injuries in addition to a defense that it's just been falling apart. I mean, you could go all the way back to the Aiden Hutchinson, but like, you don't have to. Like, it just seems like every week 2 more Lions go down that they really need if they're going to go to a Super Bowl. And if I'm a Lions fan, like, I still believe in my team if I'm that fan, but I do have some questions about, like, are we even going to be healthy enough to make it?
Well, and this is like historically the same problem that the Arizona Cardinals, whenever they have a good enough season where they're going to make it into the playoffs. I don't mean like right now where, we're fighting from under 500 to get in there, when we're above 500 and it's like, okay, we've had this great regular season, what's round 1 going to look like? It's like these last 3-4 games of the year, we just start losing people all over the place. And then this team that limps into the postseason isn't able to even field a team that resembles what they normally look like in that first playoff game. And then it's just extremely underwhelming, and it just feels like a complete missed opportunity through and through.
Yeah.
So
injury luck, whether anybody wants to admit it, plays a massive part in whether or not you win a Super Bowl. I don't care how good your team is. I don't care how talented your coach is. If you're the 49ers and you just lose a good chunk of your roster, and it just seems like every week you have this rotating, revolving set of doors of guys that are coming in and heading out. And, oh, look, we finally got McCaffrey back. God, never mind. That was like 2 weeks. We had a good 2 weeks. Good for us. Like that, if that keeps happening to you, I don't care how good you are. You're not winning a Super Bowl. It's just, you can't do it. And this is a league where injuries play a factor. So, yeah, I mean, it feels bad, but I think the Lions are good enough to maybe get further than most teams with the amount of injuries that they've had, but that's a serious concern.
Well, and now if you look at the futures market for who is going to win the Super Bowl, The Lions have been surpassed by the Buffalo Bills. They are the current betting favorite on FanDuel. They're priced at plus 400, so 4-1 payout. The Lions are now second most likely at plus 480, and they are tied with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, beyond that, if you're looking at the NFC, this is where things start to get a little bit more murky. You've got the Green Bay Packers at 12-1 plus 1200. You've got the Vikings, who are playing later on tonight. They're at 14-1. It just feels like, the door might be opening, at least for the NFC. I can't necessarily say that whoever, could sneak in is going to ultimately defeat, a potential matchup against the Chiefs or even these Bills. But it just feels like there might be potentially an opportunity on, the futures market right now. Vikings 14-1, Rams 34-1, Buccaneers 33-1. We were having this conversation last week. This is the time of year where, you can still back, a dark horse that could potentially make a run. And part of that dynamic of making a run is depending on some of the other guys above you to lose key players due to injury, so that you can get on more even, playing ground with them and potentially surpass them. So we're seeing this happen in real time with the Lions. Keon, out of any of those teams that I just shouted out, I mean, anyone kind of, seem, pretty good
you
for
can
that?
just chalk up the entire NFC. If you make the playoffs in the NFC, you should feel like you have a chance, period. Like because this is a bloodbath of a conference. There are teams outside of the playoffs in this conference that are above 500 and have a good chance of making the playoffs. So you have the 8-6, the 8-6 Seahawks. You got the 7-7 Cardinals, and then you've got a bunch of teams hovering at at the 500 level. And of course, like the Rams jump in and knock the Seahawks out. The entire NFC North might be represented outside of the Bears. Like, it's a scary conference of football. I think if you're going to take it, I would just generalize and just say that it's probably the NFC that you're going to really depend on more than anything in the AFC.
Well, and if you look at the standings right now, the only other 2-loss team in the NFC is the Minnesota Vikings. So I do have a feeling, if they end up having a pretty dominating, convincing win tonight, those odds right now plus 1400, that could be plus 1,000. It could be under that. Their prospects for winning it all, could start to look a lot more realistic. So,
and conversely, if they surprisingly lose, like, I'm still not off them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that might just be better for you as far as if that's a dark horse that you're interested in. So we're up against the break. Let me go ahead and clear up the text line here because I missed a text from the Raven Kid earlier. He said, "Good afternoon, guys. Had some awful bets on the NBA Cup semis on Saturday, particularly with the Rockets just falling off a cliff in that second half. So that was just great. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like, that happens, and it seems to happen with the Rockets.
The under was so good in that game, though.
If that's what you took, and maybe you did that too, Raven Kid. Fingers crossed. Hope you did. And then we had Pickle D had a couple of texts. I missed his first one, and then he restated it afterwards. He said, "Your Commanders killed me, buddy. I had them in a teaser parlay at -1.5, and I just got to tell you, the officials did that. I don't normally call foul with the officiating. That was egregious. That the Saints shouldn't even have scored that touchdown at the end because they stopped the clock when was it Kamara got tackled at the goal line. They stopped the clock. It was 9 seconds left. They let them line back up. The officiating in that game drove me insane. My blood pressure is still high, but we've got other things to talk about. We're chugging along right here. This is Beat the Book right on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Sports betting apps are not created equal. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here to talk about the Sport Trade Advantage. With higher payouts, Sport Trade is the ultimate sports betting experience. Sport Trade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's changing in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus -108 odds, then Sport Trade is for you. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. And if you're an experienced bettor and prefer American odds, you'll get pricing closer to -106 versus the normal -110, coupled with instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. So download Sport Trade today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sport Trade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
My pain is considerable, but that prescription is dangerous.
The side effects of my medicine are worse than my condition.
I'm in recovery. I can't take those pills.
When faced with a health crisis, you shouldn't have to choose between risks.
At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our medical doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. Our naturopathic doctors can restore pain-free joint function and restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves immediate physical symptoms without having you take a bunch of pills. If traditional medicines aren't working, don't you think it's time to start feeling like yourself again? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
There's something you can do today that will impact all your tomorrows. Open an AZ 529 education savings plan. Contribute just $50 a month, and you'll have nearly $20,000 by your child's high school graduation, or as a great start towards your own education savings. Your money grows tax-free and can be used for college, vocational school, or workforce training. Learn more at az529.gov. Do it today for all your tomorrows.
This message is sponsored by the Office of the Arizona State Treasurer.
Download the Fanatic app.
News, scores, social media updates, and more on your smartphone, on your tablet. The free Fanatic app, available at the Google Play Store or the App Store and at 1580thefanatic.com.
So on the text line, Baker's Cocky Hens, who has a couple of texts, one I missed before and one that just rolled in, said, can we just give Josh Allen the MVP and Barkley get Offensive Player of the Year, please? Got a 22-1 bet on Barkley pending. So there's that first one. And then the second one, he said that Houston and Thunder under was about the only good bet this weekend. I forgot and did not place it, of course. We've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah. No, that unfortunately happens. But definitely, excited for these two Monday Night Football games tonight. It's cool how they went back to, giving us two games on Monday. We got that for like the first few weeks of the season, then it kind of like went away for a long time.
Which I appreciated that it went away, and I'm not happy that it's back, just because I usually am not in a position to watch both games, and they're happening not as a double header, they're happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So, you just end up trying to watch the best one, I guess. I don't necessarily like it on a Monday night. I don't see what benefit it adds to Monday Night Football to have both of them on.
The betting opportunities. I mean, look, obviously,
but it's the same amount of games, though. Like it's the same amount of games in the weekend. You just took one that would normally be on Sunday and put it on Monday for some reason. So, you're not getting more betting opportunities. You're just getting another football game on Monday instead of Sunday.
Well, technically it's less opportunities on a Sunday. Yes, you could bet on them ahead of time still. I understand your point, the same amount of games. But either way, this is a pretty interesting matchup in the NFC North between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. And on paper, I think it's really easy to just kind of write off the Bears in this one. These teams already played about a few weeks ago, and that game did go to overtime. The Vikings were able to win on a field goal. But now coming into this one, Vikings are a 7-point favorite. They are currently priced at -320 on the money line on FanDuel. And, I find myself in kind of a weird place with this one, because if you look at the Chicago Bears and each of their games that they've played against the division so far, like, yes, this Bears team is on a very long losing streak, but in each of these matchups, they are losing by 3 points or less. So you go back in their schedule, and they faced Detroit. They lost 23-20. They had that game against Minnesota. They lost 30-27. And then they had their game against Green Bay back on November 17th. They lost that 20-19. So, naturally, you might be thinking, oh, well, I'll just go with Bears to cover. 7 points is pretty generous. And then this is where I say I find myself in a weird place with this, because like, I am not confident enough in this Bears team right now to really cover a spread, but I'm spooked by how well they've done against the division in some of their, recent games.
And basically, they fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, before even Eberflus. They fired Waldron back on the 12th of November. And all of the divisional games that have been close have been since then. So something has changed about this football team. And then I don't think, and then of course Eberflus gets fired on the Thursday of Thanksgiving. So I think that there's something there, but this is going to be their first in-division game without Eberflus. So I wonder if that's, like, if there's just enough reliability there. It's just another factor has changed about this team, in that the one game that they've played since they fired Eberflus was the Niners, and they just got wrecked.
Well, more so than trying to kind of forecast, who's going to win or what the spread's necessarily going to be in this game. I really like this matchup for the player prop opportunities, especially if this game happens to resemble anything like the last matchup, which took place just a few weeks ago, where there were 57 total points scored, or even if it's something similar to what the Lions and the Bills did yesterday. They are going to be playing in a dome in Minnesota. You don't have to worry about the elements. And I still am kind of going back to this whole concept that we talked about last week, where we're getting later into the year. The defenses are getting more tired. They're getting more banged up. The offenses are generally showing more. I know that didn't work out well for us last Thursday night football. I'm going to just take that as like a one-off anomaly, because there were no touchdowns scored in that game.
And I am not personally a believer in that game that the defenses were so great. I thought we were watching two offenses play like cheeks. They looked awful, and they weren't executing well. We had quarterbacks missing throws that they normally hit. I'm not as convinced that the defenses were why that game was as low scoring. Obviously, they played a factor, but I think that those offenses failed to execute more than those defenses forced them to into that failure. So I still think that we're good.
Well, and so, if we're running with that, you take a look at the line on this game. It's only 43.5. And again, I mean, these two teams just played each other 3 weeks ago, and the overall total on that was 57. Yes, it went to overtime. So before it went to overtime, I mean, the total was 54. So, why this line is so much lower right now, I'm not totally understanding it. I definitely love that. If you're looking to play a major market, you can definitely look to take the over. You can try and stretch that over, do what we all should have done in that Bills and Lions game yesterday. You can look to do a ladder on it. That is something that I would say is one of the better opportunities in that matchup. But then if you're going to look to kind of break this down for the individual players, let's talk Sam Darnold for a second, because, one of the player props that I put on the Beat the Book site was to take Sam Darnold to get 250 or more passing yards in this game. And you look at how Sam Darnold has done recently. He has thrown for at least 250 yards or more in 2 out of his last 3 games. He had 330 passing yards in that game against the Bears. And then in some of these other games recently where he wasn't getting 250, he was getting pretty close. 246 yards against Tennessee, who's got like one of the top passing defenses in the league. 241 at Jacksonville, and that was Jacksonville before, all the stuff that happened to Trevor Lawrence, and, that team's taken a significant dip since then. So this just looks like a spot where you're going to be able to count on Sam Darnold to really get the ball going in the air. Jordan Addison was a guy that did a lot in that last matchup against the Bears. I have a feeling he's going to do pretty well today, but don't be surprised, obviously, if Justin Jefferson finally gets his. He was limited in that first matchup a few weeks ago. I think he had like less than 30 receiving yards there.
Yeah, and like they can both go off. Like that's what happened, a week ago versus Atlanta, was that Addison was still going crazy, but Justin Jefferson not nearly as crazy. He just wasn't the guy that day, but like still had monster numbers that day. So they can both go off. Like I don't think that one guy going off means that the other won't. It seems like Darnold is pretty good about getting both of those guys the rock.
So and then in addition to that game, there is the second Monday Night Football game. And to be honest, this is the one where I really see a better betting opportunity. It is between the Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders. And you take a look at the line on this one. The Falcons are currently favored by 5.5 points. They are paying minus 270 on the money line. And we spoke a little bit last week. Someone had texted in with a question about who we thought was like the most miserable team right now. And then we were going in about the Raiders and their whole situation. Max Crosby's not going to be playing today. He's out for the rest of the season. He's getting ankle surgery. I believe Desmond Ridder is going to be the starting quarterback for them today.
Oh boy.
And
oh no,
I mean, you can already tell, where I'm going with this.
Woof.
I mean, you've got one team that is, I mean, they have nothing to gain out of winning this game today. They have everything to gain by just staying the course, losing, getting the best draft pick possible, and trying again next season. That's the Raiders. Then you've got the Falcons, who are still competing for their division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They need to get a win today. And their quarterback, Kirk Cousins, just Mr. Inconsistent, Mr. Unreliable,
Mr. Consistently inconsistent.
Consistently inconsistent. however you want to, phrase that. He is coming off a, over 300-yard passing game. Does he have what it takes to, put together a big passing performance against the Raiders? Absolutely. What's even more encouraging is if you go back and you look at the last 5 games for the Raiders and you take a look at the opposing quarterbacks and you see their production, every single quarterback the Raiders have faced over the last 5 games has thrown for 250 passing yards or more. Most of them were getting over 280. That one quarterback that only had 250, that was Joe Burrow. So, some of these other quarterbacks that they were facing, it was, more of just the elite group of quarterbacks in the NFL. These are guys that, have made careers out of, getting big passing yard games, and Kirk Cousins is no different. I would definitely look to play Kirk Cousins over on passing yards in the Falcons and Raiders game tonight. Keon, who do you like in that matchup? Is there any particular player you like to do well, or any props that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, well, first off, to your point about the Kirk Cousins getting over on those yards, I like that a lot. I think that the Raiders offense actually is a factor in this, and that they can't run the ball. Desmond Ridder doesn't have a big arm. They're probably not going to move the chains a lot. They're going to punt often, which means that Kirk, even if he doesn't have a great day, is going to have a lot of cracks at throwing the football, just in sheer quantity. Even if he's not accurate today, he might still hit that number. So, I like that for him a lot. I would say in this game, oh man, it's tough to kind of figure out exactly where to find big performances, just because I think that everybody that's great in this game, like all of the star players anyway, are players I don't necessarily trust to be consistent on a regular basis. Like I feel good about Kirk going crazy with yards, but Bijan's been up and down all year. Drake London's been up and down all year. Kyle Pitts started off strong and then just faded away. We haven't seen the guy in like 5 weeks put up a performance that looks like he's an NFL tight end. Like there's just isn't a whole lot going on the field today. I don't really know who else. I mean, maybe if Kirk's going off, then you would think that Drake London would be the beneficiary of all of that. Like that would be as close as I can get to saying, yeah, that guy's going to have a really big performance.
Now, Drake London, to his credit, his last 4 games, he has gone for 60 or more receiving yards. And one of the other bets that I had posted for the Beat the Book site is to take Drake London to get 60 or more receiving yards in this game. But I do like the point that you made about how the Raiders offense is going to contribute to the Falcons just having the ball a lot more on offense. and Kirk Cousins getting a lot of passing attempts. If you take a look at Kirk Cousins' passing attempts over his last 4 games, in 3 out of those 4 games, he has 37 passing attempts or more. His line on passing attempts in this game, 31.5. So that's another market where, if you want to look to just bank on this being a productive Kirk Cousins game, you can go ahead and take the over because he has been throwing the ball a lot more than, where that line's at right now. If we're looking at touchdown scores in this game and just pulling this up, Bijan Robinson, he is currently the most likely person to get a touchdown in this game. He's priced at minus 230 for an anytime touchdown. Then you've got Drake London right after him at plus 125. And to be honest, I know someone on the Raiders will probably score a touchdown, but that's just a bet that I don't really want to make.
Yeah, I mean, in the running game, if it happens, but I don't want to even try to begin to figure out the Raiders offense to try and figure out if I'm going to put money on it. There's no aspect of that football team, offense, defense, or special teams, that I would put money on at all.
So, that being said, like you start to look a little bit further down this list, you've got Darnell Mooney plus 220 to score a touchdown, Tyler Algier plus 230, Ray McLeod plus 330. And this is kind of the crop of guys where someone in here is getting a touchdown. Like, who's it going to be? Obviously that's still going to be, anyone's call there. But given that Kirk Cousins, and this is kind of amazing because we looked at this before we went on the show, the man has not thrown a single passing touchdown in his last 4 games, which is just like mind blowing.
Seems impossible for a guy that's throwing like 300-yard games and still somehow not able to find the end zone in the process of all of that. But if anyone could do it, Captain Kirk can.
Well, so, and then, if we're going to roll with that trend and just assume that that's still going to be a thing, then, there's probably some value in taking a running back to score that touchdown. And obviously Bijan's not paying too well. Tyler Algier plus 230 anytime touchdown.
Still very much incorporated in this offense, and they trust him a lot. So like he's getting a lot of the touches as well. Let's go ahead and wrap this up on the other side. We're up against the break here. We've got a text line to clear up. So we've got Pickle D said had a solid 2 wins this weekend, a 24 leg and a 25 leg. What? Well, congratulations. A $15 bet turned into $100 for Pickle D.
Okay, so he's just going very far under, and then like people's lines.
Yeah. $20 bet turned into $121 for Pickle D. So
wins a win, man.
Wins a win, and you clearly have found a strategy that's working for you, my guy. So I'm rooting for you. Beer Bob says, for the Monday Night Football games tonight, is there a best or better one to watch? Vikings Bears seems like the better one to watch because no game involving the Raiders can be good for your eyes right now. That's just my suggestion. Swazman says, I've been taking a beating on anytime touchdowns. These top running backs have not been scoring. And how about Cooper Kupp with a 0 in fantasy on Thursday last week? Yeah, Cooper Kupp was out there getting some nice cardio because he wasn't doing anything else. It's not necessarily his fault, but Jesus. Baker's Cocky Hen says, Ritter's revenge comes tonight. Sincere McCormick to outrun Bijan. I don't know if he will. The Falcons offense is weird. I don't know that Ritter is getting a revenge either tonight because he's Desmond Ritter. Sir Drives a Lot says Brock Bowers will score, but I still wouldn't bet it. And I agree. Bowers has been on a tear.
That just perfectly sums up the way I feel. I'm like, look, I know someone in this group, that they're saying just after Bijan and Drake London is the most likely to score a touchdown. They've got 3 different Raiders there. I'm sure one of those guys is going to get it. I ain't betting any of them.
Yeah, I hope that we don't get the Brock Bowers career of like he never gets a good quarterback thrown in the football because he's so amazing and talented. And then you just watch absolute tomato cans try to throw him the ball. Anyway, we'll get to the rest of the Monday Night Football conversation on the other side, and then we'll wrap it up with the picks of the day. You're listening to Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
At Diamond Dave's Desert Wholesale Diamond,
we offer incredible diamonds, both mined and cultivated, all at amazingly low prices.
Check out these cultivated lab-grown diamond earrings.
2 carats total weight, collection color, and lab-grown, only $25.90.
And she'd love this amazing tennis bracelet in natural mind.
4 carats total weight in yellow or white gold, only $39.90.
And how about this diamond chain in cultivated?
12.5 carats total weight, collection color and lab grown, only $79.90.
And last but not least, especially this year, 1.5 carat floating diamond pendant.
Collection color and lab grown, only $9.90.
Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to harmansolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's harmansolar.com.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, Forte. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down. Now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppanyaki chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is paired right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game in a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppen.com. That's Kasai Teppen.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
So, what's your favorite thing about sports? The excitement, the action, or the 5-meat pizza and the sit-back?
Bingo. That's what we thought.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, and always on at 1580thefanatic.com.
All right. So we basically got through the Monday night football games. Was there anything else that you wanted to put as a sort of punctuation mark?
Let's just, go over who we think is going to win each game, because I don't think we really did that. For me, I like the Vikings to win, and I think you can even go ahead and just take Falcons on the spread. The spread's 5.5. It seems like they're still bringing enough to the table to be able to win by at least a touchdown or more. How are you feeling on those two, Keon?
Yeah, I think that when you have a quarterback who can exploit a team like the Raiders in the air, I find it hard to believe that the Falcons won't be visiting the end zone a few times tonight. It's probably not going to be as crazy as when the Bengals rolled into town or whatever, but just I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities to move the ball through the air, and where they've been struggling in the red zone, I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to stop them. And then, on the other side, I like Minnesota. I don't think that this is going to be a game where they blow out the Bears. I think the Bears are going to be competitive. They've been competitive in all of the divisional games like we talked about before. But I do think that, I don't know that I think the Bears can cover. I just think that the Bears are going to be in this game until the end. But the firepower of Minnesota, it's just hard to pick against it right now. So I'll take the Vikings there.
Well, there you go. That is our thoughts on the 2 Monday night football games. Let's talk a little GCU basketball. We don't really do enough of this, especially from a betting standpoint, just because there's usually a whole lot of other stuff going on. But GCU does play tonight. They are on the road taking on Louisiana Tech. And if you didn't happen to catch it over the weekend, they actually played University of Georgia. And this was a competitive game. They were playing in the Holiday Hoops Giving, which took place in Atlanta. So it was like one of those deals where, like, on paper it's a neutral site, but in all reality, it's really just like a Georgia home game. And in this matchup, GCU lost the game by 5 points. They fell to 6-3 now on the season. And, for anyone that isn't really intimately familiar with GCU, it's really easy to just kind of count these guys out. For anyone that's actually been following the team and has been following the team for years, then what you would know is that this is probably wide and far the most difficult, like, non-conference schedule that GCU has ever put together for themselves. And part of the reason why they did that is because the program is getting better and better and better. And they're obviously, about to move conferences. This is their last year in the WAC. But, now that they've been able to go to the March Madness tournament, and, they got their first
advance,
and advance. They got their first win over St. Mary's last year. These are the things that you do when you're trying to grow your basketball program and you're trying to really raise the bar and try and attract better talent. You have to schedule more difficult games. And that's exactly why, at this point in the year, GCU, they had the game against ASU. They were competitive in that one until the second half, and then the wheels started to fall off. They had the blooper home loss to UC Davis, which I think if that game gets replayed today, now that GCU has like a full team, I don't think they lose that game again. That really was just kind of a one-off deal while GCU was trying to figure things out without Tyon Grant Foster. But now, to be competitive against Georgia, who has a 9-1 record, and Keon, we were talking about this before too. SEC basketball this year, very, very good. Tennessee is the number one team in the country. They also had a pretty incredible game over the weekend too. I don't know if you happen to see that. They hit a buzzer beater to win. Pretty nuts. But going back to GCU here, their strength of schedule, very, very high. Higher than normal. And you take a look at this Louisiana Tech team that they're going to be playing today. And outside of a matchup against Memphis, Louisiana Tech has really not played a very quality, lineup of teams so far throughout the season. So coming into this game, GCU being the road team, they are favored by 2.5 points right now on FanDuel. You can get them for -146 on the money line. That is one of the bets that I am recommending, is to take GCU on the money line there. Keon, how do you feel about that game?
Yeah, I feel similarly. Like, it's not like Louisiana Tech is a bad team. In fact, I think that they're actually a very, very good team. And they're playing in a good, solid, like, mid-major basketball conference as well. So, like, I don't want to disrespect Louisiana Tech, but you are correct. Their schedule just has not been at the same level that GCU schedule has been. And, some of the games where they're playing some of this tougher competition, they lose and they kind of get pushed around a little bit. You look at the Southern Jaguars, that game that Louisiana Tech played. It's just like they lost that game, and that maybe that's their UC Davis, but it seems like that's the level that they're hanging around right there. GCU should win this basketball game, and I do think that the Georgia loss probably helps motivate them a little bit more. You get a bad loss, you get handed one to you, and then you get to turn around and try and get that bad taste out of your mouth against a team that's, quite frankly, not as difficult to play.
So that is our college basketball bet of the day. You can count on the GCU Lopes on the money line against Louisiana Tech. There are some additional bets that I have posted on the Beat the Book site, so make sure you go and check those out. There is a new episode of the 6 Point Play podcast where I give my 6 best NBA basketball bets to make. That one is a short form podcast, 10-minute episodes or less. That is out right now on the Apple podcast store as well as Spotify. So make sure you check those out. And, with that being said, good luck with your bets tonight, everyone. That's all I got, Keon.
All right. Take one last look at the text line. Pickle D says, "Go Dogs." By the way, that Potter guy is kind of a whiny dude. Michael Potter will take issue with officials. He is my favorite play-by-play guy for specifically
You
that
want
reason.
him to be your school's commentator.
Yeah,
Like, he is
now,
a champion of your school. He will fight for what's right.
Pickle D is a Dogs fan, so I'm sure you didn't enjoy that being on the other end of it. Sure, it's not so fun, but man, he was going after one official, and that was my favorite part of the entire broadcast.
I love it.
T-Licious says, remind me to never trust the damn Chargers. Changed my pick from Tampa to them, then double down on a 5-game parlay. Never again. We'll remind you. Ask us next time you're about to bet on the Chargers. We'll remind you. And Sir Drives a Lot says, woo, I win again. Yes, you do, my friend. And we got your information already, so we'll go ahead and get that stuff to you. This is Beat the Book Daily Blender coming up next.
I'm Chris Rose with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for 2 more.